Welcome to The Happy Writer, a show about creating and sustaining a long-term author career. My name is Patty Jansen, writer of science fiction and fantasy. I've published independently since 2011. This show covers motivation, diversification, learning new skills, and your place in your career. Come on in and be happy. One of the big advantages of not being exclusive to Amazon is that you can sell books direct on your website. When should you do this? Why and how? In this episode of The Happy Writer, we will be talking about selling books from your website. First of all, we will delve into the why. The benefit can be purely financial. If you sell ebooks, Amazon takes 30% or up to 65% of your sales money. Even less when you factor in the cost of Amazon ads that you might run. Most other retailers are the same. Payout percentages vary from 35 to 80%, with most sales on the larger retailers coming down to close to 70%. That's still 30% you give up. If you use an aggregator like Smashwords or Draft2Digital to distribute your books, add another 10 to 15%. For audiobooks, the situation is dire. You cannot control the price at Audible, and for a $25 audiobook, you might get $4 if you're really lucky and someone buys it outright. But since most audiobooks are sold through subscription models, you are mostly not that lucky and may get less than $1. When you sell on your website, unless you're using an expensive service that has a ready-made shopfront, your costs are close to zero, which means you get to keep 100% of your sales price. That in itself can be a huge advantage. You do not need to sell as many books for the same amount of money. Next financial benefit, of course, is that the money hits your account at the moment the transaction is completed. No waiting 2 months to be paid. But there are a lot of other advantages in terms of building your audience and reaching out to that audience. Some of the things I'll talk about may seem trifling, but when you look at the long term, they are extremely important. One of the things people often ask that if the readers click the follow button underneath the author picture on your Amazon page, how do you find out who and how many people are following you? The answer is you don't. This is information that Amazon owns. It's not just Amazon that does this. None of the other retailers share this information either. They know who bought your books, and only they can contact your readers. They may do this when you're an absolute bestseller, but like most of us, they don't want to overwhelm people with emails, so they will only do this for reasons beneficial to them. And of course it never involves your book, unless you're a bestseller, and in that case you probably don't need the publicity. If you sell on your own website, you know exactly who bought your book, and when and for how much, and how often they came back to buy from you again. Which means you can give them special discounts, and you can reach out to them when you have a new book. Marketers always harp on about how much easier it is to market to an existing customer than it is to find a new one. But strangely, most of the marketing that writers do is focused on finding new readers, precisely because we have no way of contacting our existing readers. By default, your mailing list potentially has a good number of people who have read your books, but you still don't know what they bought, unless you make them do one of those silly surveys and fill in the books that they bought. But apart from the fact that few people will actually fill it out, it's also unlikely to be correct. They might misremember, and you'd be surprised to see how many people fill out incorrect information in these surveys. You will also be surprised to see how many people are on your mailing list who haven't actually bought any of your books at all. So when you sell books directly to people from your website, you collect information about every transaction and every reader who ever bought from you. This means you can now contact those readers according to very precise, accurate information. If they bought book 1, advertise book 2. advertise the next series, or advertise the audiobook if they've bought audio before. This is not information you will collect overnight, but over the long term, and won't at first look terribly valuable until you have collected a decent amount of data this way. But that data will accumulate without your involvement if you set up your systems correctly. It's passive data gathering and fits very well with the happy writer philosophy. As an aside, it's legal to put buyers from your store automatically on your store's email list. This falls under fair use of their email address because they have volunteered the interaction. They bought something. You should absolutely do this. One of the most powerful features of online stores is that you can offer people loyalty discounts. Many out-of-the-box store systems allow you to create discount codes. Or, if you don't have a storefront yet, you can just advertise a lower price to your mailing list from a restricted access page. Discount codes are especially powerful if you advertise bundles of series. You can do this when a new volume is coming out and offer an easy way for people to buy all the previous volumes in the series in one hit for a special price. A lot of readers really like this. Your mailing list will be fertile ground for this type of marketing. I mentioned before that you might be unpleasantly surprised by how many people are on the list who haven't read all or even any of your books. Rather than vent your frustration about this in author groups or throw a dummy spit and delete those people, here is your opportunity to sell those books to them. Give them a sweetener. For example, everyone who is on my mailing list gets a code that entitles them to 30% off all digital items on my website older than 6 months and that are not already deeply discounted. You will also be surprised how many of your loyal readers are happy to pay a decent price for special issues or early release of books. Another feature I should mention is that you can give readers the book for free, either by using a discount code or just making it free. There is very little risk that Amazon will find it and will price match the book, since they only tend to keep an eye on the other retailers. In short, there are a lot of different ways in which you can use the online store. I'm sure you can think of many more than I've mentioned here. So now that we have gone over the why, we will talk a little bit about the how. Let me preface this by saying that it's quite likely that this information will be outdated pretty quickly. I am saying this in May 2021, in case you will find this at a later date. Many authors find the prospect of selling online intimidating. I mean, you have to set up a shop, then there is charging readers for money and handling payment, and then the delivery of the file. I'll go through these aspects one by one. While it's true that selling books directly to readers is slightly more advanced strategy, it's getting easier all the time. There are 2 ways you can sell. You can use an existing shopping system and link to their site, or you can host your own. In the first category, we find options such as Payhip, Shopify, Etsy, Sells, and similar systems. You use their servers and their system to sell and deliver the books. They take care of the look and feel of the store, although you can sometimes customize this, and they handle payment and taxes. You may have the option to use BookFunnel for delivering the files, so you can use the BookFunnel customer service. In case you're not familiar with it, BookFunnel helps readers get the books on their devices of their choice and handles customer support for this purpose. There is a lot more that BookFunnel can do, but that's not the subject of this episode. Payhip collects and remits taxes on your behalf. Shopify has different tiers of sites, from simple to advanced. Etsy is good if you also want to sell print books or other items. Sells is similar to Shopify. There are other options that let you open a store on their site, and more are coming up all the time. You pay a small percentage or a monthly fee. I should mention here that I'm talking specifically about digital books. Of course, you can also sell print copies from your website. You can order in boxes, sign them, and physically mail them out. But since less than 1% of my sales are in print, I'm emphatically disinterested in selling print. It's not scalable. In a previous career, I spent far too much time traipsing to the post office and sending huge boxes of books overseas. Selling signed books can be a nice feature for your existing readers, but if you're like me and you're in a country like Australia, postage will be horrendous and few people will take up this option. I'm done with print books. I offer them for completeness, but for most writers, there is very little to be gained financially from selling them. Back to the digital selling. The second option is to host the store on your own website. This is slightly more advanced. The advantage is that you retain full control and you're not sending people elsewhere to purchase. There is no monthly membership fee. There are an increasing number of options to do this. The most common is WordPress and the plugin WooCommerce. Apart from the hosting for the website that you probably have anyway, and don't forget that you need a secure certificate if you want to sell, the basic plugins are free. You can also usually find free plugins that add extra features. Wix and Squarespace also have fully fledged self-hosting options. Then there is an option to host a commerce site and integrate it directly with your mailing list through MailerLite. New options emerge all the time. By the time this goes live, it will be outdated. Ask around what other people are using and listen to them about what they find useful about those sites. I use WordPress and WooCommerce. Now let's talk a little bit about how to collect payment. The most common method for collecting payment is through PayPal. PayPal even allows you to put up a simple PayPal button on your website. This is excellent if you're just starting and have only one book. You'd still have to email buyers the files manually, but if you've just started, try it to see if you like it. It's probably a good idea to open a PayPal business account because it gives you better functionality, especially in case you want to upgrade to one of the more advanced online store options. In order to have a fully blown store with WooCommerce, you have to have a PayPal business account. Read the PayPal site for further information. As an aside, you can still keep your own personal account because PayPal allows you to have one business and one personal account. There is one thing about PayPal that gets people freaked out, and I would like to address. When you open a new account, or start using an older account where you've never received a lot of income, and you start receiving regular payments, PayPal has a threshold of income when they will temporarily freeze the ability to withdraw money from your account until you have produced your tax information and other official info. This is entirely normal and is not some sort of evil scheme by PayPal, and it's also not a big drama. You just provide the information and PayPal unfreezes your account. No harm done. To be honest, PayPal is doing exactly the same as your bank does when you first sign up for a bank account. Most likely, you are required to provide some sort of information about who you are, including your driver's license and passport and stuff like that. You really wouldn't want to deal with a business that deals with financial transactions that didn't ask for information like that. So don't listen to any of the hysteria mongers complaining that PayPal froze my account and therefore PayPal is bad. PayPal charges more for handling than some other payment options. It also doesn't always have the most advantageous exchange rates. Not all countries can use PayPal. But the majority of English-language book buyers in the world will have a PayPal account. It's very easy to pay when you don't want to have your credit card online ready to be scammed. You just drop a few bucks on the PayPal account and use it to pay for online purchases without much risk to you. Some people really hate PayPal, and for those you can sign up with Stripe, which allows people to pay with their credit cards without the fees that PayPal charges, or use Apple Pay or Google Pay. You need a shopfront to deal with Stripe. The MailerLite option uses Stripe but not PayPal. Ideally, you should offer both. If you hate either PayPal or credit cards, remember that online selling is not about you. It's about your readers and what they want. Offer them the choice. Okay, now the readers have bought your books. How are you going to get these books to these people? I highly recommend that you sign up for an account with BookFunnel because they automate delivery for you. Whichever way you choose of selling books, you can integrate your BookFunnel account with your website so that once the payment has been received, BookFunnel automatically sends out an email to the readers with download links, and they even take care of helping people who are not sure what to do next. Although, to be honest, so many people are using BookFunnel's service that you get far fewer of those bewildered requests than you used to a few years ago. Once you have the storefront or sales pages set up, make sure to integrate your shop with your mailing list service so that customers can be reminded to buy the next book, or you can put them into groups according to what they bought, or send them offers based on their previous purchases. One of the best things I have done on my WooCommerce store is to send new customers an email 2 hours after their purchase, asking whether they have received the book and whether everything is okay. I get a lot of responses to this, and people who appreciate that I'm asking. I don't need to do anything for this email to go out. It happens automatically. As it becomes harder to get visibility on major retailers, owning your own audience will lead to better sales on your own website. Not only do you control what readers can see, but you can also contact them whenever you want, and you are not at the beck and call of new release or special notices that may or may not go out to readers whenever a third party can be asked to send them. As advertising becomes more expensive, as a lot of sites are becoming increasingly pay-to-play, especially if you are an unknown author trying to break through, siphoning off your loyal customers to your own website becomes increasingly important. Because when you have control over your audience, competing with others is not an issue. You can send the people where you want and when you want. Thank you for listening to the Happy Writer Show. Check out links and other episodes on my website at pattyjansen.com and my YouTube channel.